afternoon everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is going to be a relatively short video compared to some of my more recent videos on YouTube, and basically it's a continuation of the last video I did, which looked at the the image quality between the Fujifilm X-E1 and the Fujifilm X100. And in that video I mainly focused on the color output from both of those cameras, but someone in one of the videos mentioned that the Fujifilm X100 has a great monochrome ability as well. So before I sell the camera off, because that's what I concluded in probably the last video I did with the Fujifilm X100, because I preferred the output of the Fujifilm X-E1, certainly from a color point of view compared to the Fujifilm X100. So what I've been doing is I've been taking out both cameras recently and taking similar compositions in my local area, but then I've been using a monochrome film simulation. It's black and white plus a red filter generally, and then also I've dialed in normally I dial in +2 highlights, -2 shadows to give it a really contrasty look to the monochrome. So I basically found a combination which looked similar on both the cameras, and then I went out and I shot some compositions so that I could compare the monochrome from both cameras. So I'm going to run a reel now which basically will show the image from both cameras, so you can have a good look to see which ones you prefer, and then I will talk about them at the end as well and say which camera I prefer in terms of its monochrome output compared to the other. As well as matching the rendering of the monochrome in both cameras, I also made extra effort to try and match the aperture of the camera, and then also the minimum ISO and minimum shutter speeds that both cameras should use to try and just make it fair, basically, the comparison. So obviously, to try and make this extra fair as well, I've of course tried to use the same focal length from the Fujifilm X100, which is 23mm, but as you'll probably know from a previous video, I really struggled to do this with the 15-45 lens on the Fuji. This is because there's no markings on the actual lens itself to let you know what focal length you've zoomed into, and then also as well in the camera it doesn't actually tell you on the display what focal length you are, so you've almost got to try and just evaluate the scene in terms of how much you manage to get in with the X100 to how much you're going to get in with the X-E1. So obviously I tried my best. There's some situations where this really worked, and then there's other situations where this didn't work so well. But like I said, I've tried to make it as fair as I could, because ultimately if the X100 is going to be good at monochrome, then that's definitely something that I will take into consideration before deciding whether or not I am going to sell that camera or not. Yeah, so I really hope you like those kind of images, and in conclusion, I hope you kind of noticed that the Fuji X-E1 did a much better job again at the kind of the monochrome duties compared to the X100. The rendering was probably very close on both, but I think the X-E1 definitely pipped it, because it was definitely I think it had a little bit more pop about the images. I know sharpness isn't the be all and end all, especially with monochrome, but the X-E1 images definitely had much more kind of clarity and sharpness in those images. I also found with the X-E1 as well that the camera does a better job at metering the scenes, so it definitely kind of could recover a lot more the highlights as opposed to kind of the X100. So just to finish this video off then, is it hasn't really changed my decision to sell the X100 and keep the X-E1 for the time being. So I really hope you enjoyed this short video. As always, and like I've done here, if there's anything you kind of want to know about these two cameras, or not so much the X100 because that's going off to be sold on Monday, but certainly if there's anything you want me to try out on the X-E1, then let me know in the comments below, and I'll do my best to try and do a video about that, or incorporate that into a future video. So as always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.